Good morning, Lee.
Welcome to 1 Million Cups. We are actually now live and ready to go. So,
Thank you, Lee.
Again, for those of you, I guess it doesn't really affect you, but November 1st we will be at Threshold on Atwood Avenue on the east side. So please do make an effort to come see us there. As for that, I think that's our only announcement aside from just the ongoing Sector 67. There's a GoFundMe page, and we always like to support our local entrepreneurs. So we are encouraging everyone to donate if they can. As you see, we're missing like most of our
Did you introduce yourself?
organizing staff. No, I just like to thank people. My name is Julianne Selesky. I'm from the Madison Club, co-organizer of 1 Million Cups. Oh, another announcement. We have Culture Community this week. So it is Thursday at the Madison Club at 9 a.m.
Tomorrow?
Yep. So please do come check us out there. Other than that, Michael? Oh, sorry, we do, obviously, I know, I'm sorry, it's been a rough, this is really full. We do have a visiting group today, so we're gonna go around and introduce ourselves as per usual. And when we get to your supervisor, if you could just stand up and say who you are and where you're from and the group that you have here today, that would be great. So, Julianne Selesky, Madison Club.
Okay, nice one, Julianne. I'm Michael. Feel free to interrupt if you think of anything else. I'm Michael. I work at HealthFinch. I do product and engineering work mostly. I am the coach here at 1 Million Cups. I do not, as you can probably tell from my apparent age, I do not have 20 years of startup experience. So I will coach our presenters to the audience and to make sure that they can get what they need out of you all. So no pressure from you all. And also so that you all can get a good understanding of what the presenter is kind of getting at in our Wednesday morning sessions. So on that note, if you would like to present, feel free to apply online. I know we're currently booked out until about mid or late November. So that can give you a general time scale if you'll need some time to craft a presentation and think about that stuff. If you are just curious about presenting in general and are not sure, feel free to chat with me and we can figure something out. And I think that's it. So,
Start with,
yeah.
Oh, I need to thank our sponsors. Field 59, as always.
Thank you.
Guys for live streaming. Crescendo Coffee for donating the coffee, Old National Bank as well, and of course the library for this great space. Perfect timing walking in Old National Bank. We really appreciate everything you do to support 1 Million Cups. All right, let's start with introductions.
Herb Peterson, co-founder of 32 Auctions, a platform for hosting and managing online silent auctions.
Steve Claude, the other co-founder of 32 Auctions.
Trezzy, I'm an independent software engineering consultant. I also do a podcast called 100 State of Mind. If you're an entrepreneur, you should get in touch with me and come on the show.
Aiden, I work in customer success at HealthFinch.
Andrew Gonzalez, commercial lending at Old National.
Hi, I'm Steve Slatton. I have my own little company and I'm here just networking.
Good morning, I'm Susie Yonkel. I am with Merlin Mentors. I am program director for Merlin.
Lucas Frisbee, startup team strategist for Starting Block Madison.
I'm Tamara Songroff, and I am a co-owner of Patient Care Partners.
Matt Smith, my wife and I just moved to Madison. I'm a guy with an idea.
I'm Dan Anderson. I'm a physician computer scientist turned EVID. I left medical practice to do something much harder, which is build good software.
Lee Streifler with Ordinal Science. We are a data science consulting company specializing in AI, IoT, and machine learning.
Good morning, I'm Alex Ryan with Prairie Light Solar. It's a renewable energy finance consulting firm.
I am Brian Rathbone with i5 Digital Fitness, an all-inclusive digital marketing company taking care of all of your digital needs. Just a reminder, next week after 1 Million Cups is the In Business Expo at Alliant Energy Center. It is free. We have a booth and we are also speaking. And we hope to see you guys. i5 Digital Fitness, keeping it digitally buff.
I'm Michael Vobel, investment advisor representative at CLF Asset Management. I'm Simon Legal, co-founder of that.
Hi, I'm Monique, program coordinator at UW-Madison.
Christine Nintetson, and I
we'll have the instructor introduce the students briefly.
Right.
I wear two hats. One is I work for the university and I direct non-credit programming for international students. The other hat I wear is I'm out in the community and I own La Lam Sang restaurant.
All right.
My name is Jenny Shiklosh. I'm an ESL instructor, and my group from China is here from 2 different universities studying for a month, and the focus of our group has been innovation.
Well, welcome to everyone. Super excited that you're here for innovation. I'm now excited to present Scott from Dropp, who doesn't have a presentation and is just going to talk, which is very exciting, and I have to do with the technology stuff.
Make sure to drink a lot of coffee.
Yes. Anyone?
Scott, we'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so a little bit of why I'm going off script today. I thought about a lot of the presentations I've given in the past and which one would be exciting here. And, you know, they're all memorized and I know when to click through them. And as I started thinking about all these different slide decks I have, one story kept coming in my mind that really resonated with me when I heard it. It really encapsulates why we do what we do. And that's the story that I wanted to share with you guys today. The day was August 15th, 2002. There was 22 troops traversing through a valley in Afghanistan. It was the middle of the night. Weather was kind of balmy, a little bit rainy. They didn't really expect that there was any danger. They didn't feel any threats in the area. But as they started traversing through this valley, they started getting a really unsettling feeling. And before they knew it, they started taking on fire. Over the radio, they yell, you know, troops engaged, which is what they say over their comms to say, we need help, we need backup. And luckily for them, in the sky was 2 A-10 fighter planes. The main pilot's code name was Johnny Bravo. Probably stands like this when you ever meet him. He heard this over the comms, so he radios over to his wingman, hey, I'm going to go check this out. Swings around, comes down in the valley, sees his team, sees the enemy, starts laying down fire, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, pulls back up. Here's on the radio, good hits, good hits, good hits. Circles back around, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, pulls back out. Comes around again, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, pulls up. Out of ammo, but his fuel's fine. Radios to his wingman, hey, we need to get down in that valley. His wingman was a little bit nervous. Johnny Bravo says, I'm gonna fly by your side. 3 feet apart, they go down in the valley together, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, come up. They hear out on the radio that all the enemies have been disengaged and the troops are safe. That night, those 22 soldiers got through that valley and got to where they needed to safely because of Johnny Bravo and his wingman. And I tell this story for a couple reasons. It's a story about trust, it's a story about hope, and it's a story about struggle. But there's one part of this story that I didn't tell you. Those troops earlier, when I said they weren't feeling any threats or any danger, was because they had a surveying group in front of them that was supposed to be looking for any enemies and radioing to them if there was any threats. They didn't get any of this over the radio. Their survey group was MIA. They kind of left them there when they were supposed to be their leaders, their eyes, their ears, and let them know when there's danger. And this story reminds me of what young adults are financially struggling with in this country in our current credit system. Right? We're all told to trust and believe in these leaders that really aren't there anymore. These 3 credit bureaus that are told that, hey, we're going to record all this information and we're going to put you in a financial good position. But what they don't tell you is that they're not really there anymore. They never radio to you. They never tell you that all of these things that you work really, really hard for, whether it's a rent payment, parking, childcare, health insurance, you don't get recognition for that period. It doesn't do anything for you. They never tell you that. And then when things happen, like somebody steals your identity and potentially all of your information, they don't even care about you. You're not a consumer, you're not a person, you're a product. They sell you. That's what they do, they sell you. Right? And the thing that really sucks for young American citizens right now is you don't have a Johnny Bravo. You don't have anybody to radio for help. Your only thing that you can rely on was your survey group, and they left you. They're not really there anymore. And I tell this story because that's the reason why we created Dropp. Right? We believe that financial prosperity and financial opportunity is a right. It's not a privilege. You know, we will be your Johnny Bravo, but how do we do that? Right? So first we recognize that you guys work really hard to make all these payments that don't get recognized. So what we've essentially done is we've created an application that's like a Venmo-like application where you can make monthly payments, and we automatically record all those payments that normally get unnoticed and get thrown away. And we build an alternative credit model and score out of that, where those payments work really, really hard for, so that way you can actually show true financial trust. But just like Johnny Bravo had a wingman. We have wingman. We've partnered with property managers, banks, and other lending institutions, so that way, as we collect all of this data, you can use it for things that you never could imagine. So the next time you're looking for an apartment, you don't even have to go search for one, because you can just say, hey, come and recruit me. Here's all my information. I'm a great renter. Here's my history, because Dropp did that for me. And they're just going to come to you. The next time you need a credit card when you're just starting out financially as a young adult, instead of getting denied time and time again, we'll just give it to you like that, because we'll pre-approve you, because our partners believe in our data that much. You know, or the next time you're looking to take the next stage in your life and buy that home, support your family, normally in the system that you have to rely on right now that doesn't track these payments, it's going to cost you about an extra $70,000 for that financial misrepresentation. Well, that $70,000 goes back into your pocket, because you can actually get the rates that you deserve. You know, that $70,000 can be your child's education. It can help people out in need. You can take trips around the world. You can do whatever you want with it, but it's yours and you deserve it. And that's the reason why we created Dropp, was to be your Johnny Bravo in your financial life, because right now, your surveying crew, they kind of left you. We're not going to do that. We're going to make sure all these things that you work really, really hard to pay, it's really easy to do that, and then whenever you have needs, we're there to help you. You can radio to us, and we're going to give you what you need. So they always say that you have to give an ask in 1 million cups, so here's my ask to you guys. For those of you that are young, pay rent, pay parking, trust us to be your Johnny Bravo. Some amazing things will happen with all these payments that you work really, really hard for, and all these situations that you didn't think could occur, they can occur now with us. We've built a really strong partnership and ecosystem with people around the state right now, and eventually we'll be around the country. For those of you that are older, spread the word. You can head over to www.dropp.co. You can sign up there. We have taken down our wait list, because we're going live this week, and we had quite a big wait list, so you can reach out to us on our website, and we can get you on that wait list, or you can sign up when we go live next week and we open it back up. And if you're an investor who's interested in fintech or in the banking institution ecosystem, reach out to me. We're through our pre-seed round. We're going to be going for a fuller seed round later this year / early next year. So I'd recommend contact me, get in touch with me, learn about our fintech solutions. But with that, thanks for your time, and I'll open up to any questions.
Guys, that was a 6-minute presentation, which is what you're supposed to do at 1 million bucks. Sorry, I'm really excited about
Way to go. So the biggest part of 1 Million Cups, as I'm sure all of you guys know, but for our guest today, is community involvement, community questions, really trying to understand his ask. So we encourage you guys now to just think of any question that you have, and I'm sure Scott would be happy to. All right, got our first one. Go for it.
Great presentation. Thank you for coming today. First question is just, I'd like to get an understanding of like your business.
Yeah, so from like a revenue side, we kind of operate like most payment platforms do. We charge a small transaction fee. We work off the ACH system, so it's not off the credit card processing system, so we can lower those costs. So that kind of covers our overhead. But as like a revenue growth strategy, essentially what we do is with these partners, like these banks and other institutions that we work with, on the property manager side, we have kind of like a subscription model that gives them access to these, what I just call better renters, that have this history and are looking to be recruited. But then also long term, as we start introducing individuals to more credit cards and I'll just say like mortgages and bigger loans, we take a finder's fee off of that to say, here's this individual that you normally wouldn't find, period. We're putting them in your lap on a silver platter with all of their information, and we take a finder's fee for that.
And at this point, are you finding these businesses, banks, whatever, these institutions, are they buying into the subscription model, or are you still more beta where they're just being for free if they want at this point?
So we have buy-in. We're basically hyper-targeted in Northeast Wisconsin, which where my initial investors would come from. So one of our banking partners is Nicolay National Bank, and Murphy Development owns about 5,000 units up there. And then we're also exploring some avenues with like the university housing as well as low-income housing, because low-income individuals suffer a lot from trying to get out of poverty. And we have an application that can help showcase their financial trust. But from our main core focus of property managers and banking institutions, we're hyper-targeted there in Northeast Wisconsin, already have buy-in, and I guess we're basically proving the full vertical integration ecosystem at this point, which will probably take 3 to 4 months just to get all the metrics and the data, but we're starting to have it come in. So, and then we'll take that model and move to Madison, move to Milwaukee, move to Ann Arbor, Michigan, secondary markets.
So you said you were looking for younger folks. Who's your target?
So our target is 18 to 29-year-olds. Mostly because those are the ages you pay rent. The average person will pay about $72,000 of rent before they buy their first home, which the average person buys their home at 29. That counts anywhere. So we believe that there's a lot of value in a rent payment because you're basically supplementing that for a mortgage, right? We all saw what a mortgage payment can do in 2007, 2008 and crash a market. We're like, well, we think we can have the reverse aspect of that when we start collecting this data of pre-mortgage payment, essentially. But we like to get people in early because, the 18, 19 years old, because that way we can walk them right through their financial life that normally they can't. 18, 19, pay your student housing through us. Then when you're looking to get a credit card, we can pre-approve you for one at better rates than you'll get. You don't have to get denied. Now you can start building a little bit of a track record. Then when you're looking for a small personal loan to put down as a security deposit because you moved, got your first job or internship, a lot of times you don't have that money. In our model, you've proved to us that you're financially trustworthy. We can allocate that funds right to you. You can have that small loan, you can pay it back right in our system, and then you can move right into a car loan and right into a home loan. All of those keep building on top of each other. Same thing with all these other like external payments, parking, gym membership. We take all of that into account.
So how are you getting that information? Is the young person, so like my 19-year-old son who's a freshman, would he report that to you, or would?
Nope, so we're an app, you pay right through us. So we're just like Venmo. Like if I wanted to pay you through Venmo, I say, I don't know your name, but say I want to pay you. In our application, you say I want to pay rent to this person. If they're in our system, we'll go right to them. Otherwise, it'll come through us and we'll forward the payment to them. And our application acts as an independent scorekeeper. It builds its own credit model. It has its own algorithm where essentially what each payment is tied to a payment agreement, which is essentially a smart contract. My rent's due the first of the month, $750 for the next 11 months. When you pay that rent, we can recognize if you paid it on time, and that way we automatically build it. That's how we're able to build these partnerships, because it's not like, for lack of a better word, sometimes bastardized data of reporting. It's completely independent. It's all digital. So that's why banking partners are like, wow, like we can't screw this up. Like this is what the data points are. Like we can't manipulate it in any way.
You talked a little bit about security earlier and not trusting credit bureaus. I guess could you talk a little bit about why a person who would use your app would trust it?
So the first is just the fact of transparency. We've actually tried to work with credit bureaus and report to them, and we've learned a lot of unsettling things. One, they told us that it is at their full discretion if, when, and how often they take our data. So basically we can say we can put Girl Scout cookies on your porch every month, but it's up to them if they want to take it. So that puts us in a real gray zone with our users to say, well, we can help report this to try to boost your credit score because you deserve it, but it's still at their full discretion if they take it. So that's one. We're fully transparent. We're basically saying, here's our algorithm, and you'll see it over time. Because right now, this credit score system is the same thing as if you went to college and your first day of class, the professor went up to you and was like, hey, my name's Scott, I'm your professor. Throughout the course of, this semester, you're going to do homework and tests and other assignments, and I'm never going to tell you what your score is. Anytime you want to look for it or ask me about it, I'm going to charge you for it. Oh, by the way, I'm going to dock you points. That's how our credit system works. And it's pretty unfair. That's not transparent. They hide a lot of things from you, and they don't tell you that, hey, rent payments, parking, childcare, health insurance, none of these count. It's purely debt-based. It has to be asset-backed. So that's one. The second thing is their security systems, as you now know, are super, super antiquated. When they asked us to send information to them, they asked us to send them in a CSV file. It's an Excel spreadsheet. It's like, a sixth grader can manipulate that thing. And that has sensitive information in it. So they don't really necessarily follow like CIP laws and encryption standards. We have 256-bit encryption, which is military-grade encryption. So we're the high standards you can kind of get for the financial industry right now. So that's number 2. And number 3 is just the fact of they don't really care about you. And that's really where we rely. It's like you have no other choice but to subdue to this monopoly. You don't have another option. They know that. And they're like, well, nothing else is going to really change that until now. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, Michael.
So I have 2 questions. First of which is operational and not very exciting. So I'll get that out of the way first. So you coordinate the premise of like credit and reliable payment is there's an expectation that money is due and that expectation is met. How do you populate your expectations? So if I'm just paying someone through Venmo, for example, there was no expectation that I would be splitting wings with my roommate until 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, so a little bit before I talked about a smart contract, so you set the expectations. This is really what it is. So in our app, if I'm paying rent, say you're my landlord, I say, I want to pay Mike $1,000 on the first of the month. It's a recurring payment. The first one's due November 1st, and I take it out of this bank account. I agree to it, you agree to it. Okay. This agreement is sent between both of us. It says, this is when I'm going to pay. You say, yep, that's when it's due. Okay. And then we essentially have this smart contract, right? Not Ethereum based for those people who are in Ethereum, but smart contract that you guys, each party agrees to. And then you pay on that agreement, and that agreement is what tracks the trust of it.
Okay, that makes sense. So my second question is, let's say I am 19 to whatever age, 19 to 28, I think you said, or something, of average financial intelligence, which is not very high. You know, these people tend to have bought their first home and gotten invested in all that. What would make me say, oh, good point. Like I want to buy a house. I may buy a house in 10 years. You know, what prompts them that isn't prompting them now? Does that question make sense?
Kind of. So first I'll just start with a little bit of statistics. So the average credit score for a 19-year-old in this country is 631. The average credit score for a 29-year-old is 634. During that time, you pay about $92,000 of monthly payments that got you 3 points. It's nothing. So a big problem of it is education. I believe we have a huge financial education gap in this country. I think that's why we're in the problems we're in. And a lot of our platform is meant to be financially like advisorship. Okay. To not necessarily to say, hey, you can send payments through this, but we also, like I said, act as your Johnny Bravo and your wingman, where we can introduce you to things where it's like, here's something that's really, really financially sound for you to do right now. Here's kind of what's going in the market, et cetera, whatever is necessarily relevant to you. And as we build our application and our platform out, that's going to be based upon user feedback. So, I mean, the short answer is there isn't a good answer because it doesn't exist. Like, that's where we're trying to start and build.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
And do you have a fiduciary label then, like for your company?
No, so you're basically asking if we have an FDIC seal? No, so we do not authorize the loan. You could look at us as like a money transmitter, so like a money transmitter license. So this is kind of what like LendingTree did, where they have to get licenses in each state. There's also a new OCC, Office of Comptroller for banks. Mm-hmm. They actually just released a new charter for fintech companies. That's like a special, I just call it a special charter for fintech companies. That's still in litigation. Okay. We may apply for that later on, but really what we say is, as an application and as our job as a fintech company is really to make banks and lending institutions relevant to the needs of consumers. Okay. Right now they can't really do that because they don't have the information and the data. Like there's a huge gap there. So we're not actually like authorizing the money to you from our bank account. It's from them, and you just interact with our interface, and like we keep you in that user experience.
I guess I also meant from like an advising standpoint. You said like this is good for you now. This is kind of what you should do. As a financial advisor, you kind of have to have that fiduciary trust enabled. And I'm not sure if the DOL came down with the ruling yet. I haven't really been following that too much, but Is that something that you are allowed to do legally, I guess, is my question.
So again, we don't, it's not, I shouldn't say we give the advisorship, it's partners that
Okay,
do it,
okay,
right?
that makes sense.
We're just kind of the platform and the hub.
Gotcha.
We're the Amazon of the financial ecosystem.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of where we sit.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. We're good at moving money
Okay.
very securely and recording it. That's what we do.
Okay.
When it comes to getting loans, that's what our bank partners do. You know, when it comes to financial advisorship, I'll leave that to like Northwestern Mutual and their advisors. So.
All right, sounds good.
Who's dunning in the event that of late payments? Who's following up with the renters? And if I miss a payment, who's coming to get me? Is it you or is it the landlord?
It's the landlord. So we essentially what our application is meant to do is showcase the individuals that are super financially trustworthy. They're the ones that come into our app. So like, I'm doing all this, I'm doing it right, I'm not getting any recognition for it. People that miss a lot of payments, we understand they're not necessarily going to use our application. But in that case scenario, the property manager is going to come to you. You have the lease agreement with the property manager, not with Dropp. We're simply your payment platform. Instead of a digital electronic one or paying them with Venmo or paying them with whatever you pay through us, we're just your payment portal.
Okay, so being in a situation right now with a 19-year-old, when he went to go sign his lease,
Yep.
he couldn't sign it, right? He had to have a parent who signed it. And as I would assume with a lot of college kids, I pay his rent, right? So how do your banking partners look at that? Would this app work for him to help him?
Yeah, absolutely. Banks know that you're paying rent.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They know what's going on. They know a 19-year-old's in debt. The reason he's paying rent is because of his parents. They know that. They know that parents pay credit card payments.
Yeah.
They know that parents get credit cards and use them themselves just to build credit for their kid because they don't have another option. You know, they don't care.
Okay.
They actually prefer it because they're like, oh, this person has a financially responsible parent behind them or in front of them, however you want to look at it. That's the type of kid I want to bank with because they were given the right path initially, right?
Yeah, curious, you knew the month, the day, and the year of the military story. Where'd that come from?
Simon Sinek.
Glad you brought that up, because I was going to tell you, there's another guy using that.
Yep.
Same thing.
I love Simon. Yep.
As far as the transaction fees, is that flexible as far as who's paying it, whether it's the renter or the...
So right now it's not. It's on the payer, which is usually the renter. That transaction cost goes down as we get more users on our platform because our ACH costs go down. So we send that over to our users. In the future, we're working, like one of the things I'm working with is potentially the city, where for low-income housing, the city picks up that cost. So that will get worked in the future when we have a case scenario, but right now it's just on the payer.
Okay.
What is your long-term exit strategy in this? Only because, so the big three that are out there, have kind of ruled, and more regionally unless you're doing tri-merges on stuff. But I got to think that there are a lot of other folks out there in the U.S. that are trying to create and get an adopted model, much like what you're talking about. Because I've had people struggle with that over time as well, the 19-year-olds that are coming in. And I'm looking at it from a different perspective, as a banker, and I've seen a lot of different scenarios. I've had 19 and 20-year-olds with higher credit scores than most people come in with, only because they've got limited history. I've always kind of equated that with the 18, 19, 20-year-old group as, you remember in high school when you were a freshman, if you got an F, how hard it is to bring that back up? Yep. It's the same thing with credit, but very early on, you want to make sure that you do things very carefully in the very beginning stages. They did a lot of the predatory stuff with credit cards. There was legislation that was passed many years ago that kind of quelled some of that. But, is this something that you hope for a merger at some point to be bought by a larger entity out there that might be looking to do the same thing? I haven't researched enough, but I do know that there are other people looking to create credit models out there that are not the standard FICO from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
Yeah, I mean, there's several other companies out there trying to create alternative credit scoring models, based upon behavioral data. So right now, I see it in kind of three silos. The silo of a merger and acquisition could be in the consumer-facing payment application, which right now, PayPal and Intuit are just sucking them all up. Right? PayPal bought Venmo, well, Braintree bought Venmo, and then PayPal bought Braintree, and Intuit's buying all these other consumer-facing. The other one I see is a acquisition by a lending institution, a big one, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, something like that, where they're like, we want all this information. And then obviously the other silo is an IPO, which is more of a personal initiative if we choose to go that route and go public.
What are you doing to market yourselves to this group? Are you working like with any high schools or universities to try to get the word out at a more grassroots level among that population?
Yeah, so kind of at a couple levels. I mean, we're pretty early. Right now, we actually kind of leverage the banks that we work with to say, hey, reach out to your parents so they tell their kids about this, or reach out to the kids that are going to college so they use this. And then we also, on the other hand, work with property managers to say, here's a really easy solution for you to collect. We're not going to charge you large licensing fees, and we're a much cheaper model that incentivizes your renters to pay rent, so it's even better for you. That's kind of how we are right now. We're perfecting that model. Then in the future, I want to start working with university housing, getting them in early, and as well as starting to work with different cities with low-income individuals and incentivization programs through that. But right now, it's mostly banking institution, their current member base, and property managers, their current renter base.
I was pretty much going to ask the same exact question, because I think you could really go into the high schools, because we never had that when I was in school, and my credit score was horrible, and it took me years to finally get it built up, and all the different tools and different advice that I got from different places finally got me to where I am today. But if you could start in the high schools and just going to a couple classes, your parents tell you one thing, but hearing it from an outside person who's been there, done that with experience, I think your best bet is just to really just talk to the seniors in high school.
And I'll piggyback on that because I've been a banker for 21 years. It is extremely difficult to get into schools. I think juniors, seniors need to hear this stuff. Heck, eighth graders and that, well, they all do. But that's a very good point because that does work. And every once in a while, bankers get invited into some of these financial literacy meetings that the schools sponsor, that are sponsored by other outlets. You're not a bank. So, it's not as scary to have someone like you come in with just free advice. You're not coming in with the label of trying to promote your brand.
Building awareness, pretty much.
That's really what it all winds up being. I come in with the label of a bank, whatever bank I work for, and they think that I've got ulterior motive.
Mm-hmm.
So, when really it truly is just about education.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we have a huge financial education gap in this country. I think that's why we're in the problems we're in. I agree with you that getting into high schools would be great. Like he said, it's really tough. The way I would maybe try to approach that is like through junior achievement, because they're kind of like a third party. They kind of offer advice. I was a junior achievement mentor several years ago for seniors going into the workforce, so I think it's a great program. And I'll definitely look into it in the future. Right now I'm juggling a lot of different balls on my plate, so I don't want to tackle junior achievement in high schools right now.
What are the backgrounds of the founding team, and what was the genesis of your idea?
No, great question. My background, I'm a UW alum, mechanical engineering student, and after I graduated, I was an instructor here for a year where I taught design and prototype fabrication for mechanical engineering students. At that time, I started my first, what I would call engineering consulting firm, where I was kind of the guy that you could come to, say you wanted to build the next best skateboard. I would design it, I would prototype it, and you could take it to investors. It's kind of like your one-stop shop, because I was a machinist for 4.5 years for the university. I did that for about a year, and then I went to John Deere in Augusta, Georgia, as an engineering manager for about 3 years, where I oversaw an engineering team that sat anywhere from Pune, India to Knoxville, Tennessee. The 2R platform, so if anybody looks and follows John Deere, it's a 202R, 2032R, 2038R. After that, I kind of got sick of cubicle life and knew that my passion was better pursued elsewhere. So I quit my cubicle job and handed in my laptop, and I moved back to Madison about a year ago. Said I want to make a difference somewhere else. My co-founder is my brother. He was a UW alum as well. He moved out to San Francisco and was a landscape architect for about 7 to 8 years, or like one of his main projects was he was the main designer of LinkedIn's campus. Then for a couple years he started working, kind of shifted over to tech. He got really interested in the tech and coding and developing, and he started working for a bunch of different startups in the Valley. And then when I quit John Deere, he quit his job about 3-4 months later and moved back, and we started Dropp. So he's focused on tech product side, and I'm focused on business development side. And then the rest of our team is rounded out by our investors out of Northeast Wisconsin. There's about 11 different ones that have experience, everything from one owns a technology development firm, another one is a company that recently had an IPO of over $550 million. So I have a big breadth of individuals on my, I guess, advisory board / investment board. So, but we will be hiring here early next year, so if anybody's interested.
Any final questions? Oh, this worked out so well.
Okay, can we get a round of applause for So we have about 5 minutes left. You guys feel free, drink more coffee, mingle. Other than that, we will see you next week. And we've already gone over who will be presenting, so that's awesome. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks. Some of those.